What you are seeing in California's Central Valley is not a crack in the road. It is not a dry season problem. It is not something that will simply reverse when the next storm arrives. The ground itself is sinking. Month after month, enormous sections of one of the most important farming regions on Earth are dropping downward, pulled into empty space where water used to be. This valley feeds America. It grows the fruit, vegetables, almonds, tomatoes, and dairy products that reach dinner tables thousands of miles away. But beneath those fields, a hidden disaster has been building for decades. Farmers pumped groundwater during droughts, wells drilled deeper, aquifers emptied faster. And now the clay layers underground are collapsing under the weight of everything above them. Scientists warn that this is not ordinary subsidence anymore. In some places, the land has fallen by many feet. Canals no longer slope the right way. Roads buckle. Wells go dry. Towns are slowly becoming bowls. And the most terrifying part is this. Even if the rain comes back, the lost underground storage may never return. California's Central Valley does not look like a place that should be collapsing. From above, it appears endless. Long green fields stretch toward the horizon. Orchards stand in perfect rows. Canals cut across the land like silver lines, carrying water to farms that feed millions of people. Trucks move along highways loaded with almonds, tomatoes, grapes, milk, lettuce, and citrus. To the rest of America, this valley is a grocery store with mountains around it. But beneath that abundance, something has been quietly failing. The land is sinking, not by inches over a lifetime, not by a small amount that only scientists can measure. In some parts of the valley, the ground has dropped by many feet. In the worst zones, it has fallen fast enough to damage roads, canals, bridges, homes, and farms within a single generation. What once seemed solid is bending. What once carried water by gravity is tilting out of alignment. What once supported entire towns is lowering beneath them. This is called subsidence. But the word is almost too calm for what is happening. Subsidence sounds technical. It sounds distant. It sounds like something written inside an engineering report and filed away in a government office. But in the Central Valley, subsidence means a canal can lose its ability to deliver water. It means a farmer can watch his field sink unevenly beneath his equipment. It means a family can turn on a faucet and hear air, sand, and silence. For decades, the valley survived by pulling water from underground. During dry years, when rivers shrank and reservoirs dropped, wells kept the fields alive. Deeper pumps meant more water. More water meant more crops. More crops meant more money. It seemed like a miracle. But the miracle had a hidden cost. The aquifer beneath the Central Valley was not an infinite lake. It was a fragile underground structure, built over thousands of years, supported by water trapped between layers of sand, gravel, and clay. When that water disappeared, the structure began to crush itself. Now the surface is telling the story the pumps tried to hide. For thousands of years, the Central Valley survived because the mountains stored winter as snow. In spring, that snow melted, ran through rivers, spread across floodplains, and seeped down into the earth. Slowly, drop by drop, it filled the hidden reservoirs beneath the soil. Those reservoirs were never empty caverns. They were layers of sand, gravel, silt, and clay, packed together like a giant sponge. Water held inside those layers helped carry the weight of everything above: farms, towns, roads, canals, and millions of tons of soil. It was an invisible support system. As long as enough water remained underground, the valley could breathe. Then agriculture changed the rhythm. As cities grew and farms expanded, demand for water exploded. Drought years became pressure years. Surface water from rivers and reservoirs was no longer enough. So farmers turned downward. Wells reached into the aquifer. Pumps pulled day and night. At first, the damage seemed manageable. The land might sink slightly, then rebound when rain returned. People believed the system was flexible, but the pumping did not stop. Each drought pushed wells deeper. Each dry season forced farms to chase older water trapped farther below. What began as emergency use became a permanent dependency. The valley was no longer borrowing from the aquifer. It was mining it. That distinction matters, because borrowed water can return. Mined water cannot. Once deep groundwater is removed faster than nature can replace it, the underground structure starts to fail. Pressure drops. Pore spaces shrink. Clay begins to compact. Above ground, the fields still look productive. Trees still bloom. Harvests still move. But underground, the foundation is tightening like a fist. The danger is not simply that California is running out of water. The danger is that the valley is destroying the very container that once held it. Every gallon pumped from those ancient layers removes more than liquid. It removes support. It removes space. It removes the future. And once that collapse begins, the surface above has only one direction left to go: down. Month after month, the valley quietly settles deeper into its own emptiness. The deepest danger in the Central Valley is not visible from a road, a farm, or even an airplane. It is hidden thousands of feet below the surface, inside ancient clay layers that formed long before California had cities, highways, or industrial farms. These clay layers once acted like silent pillars. They held water inside microscopic spaces, so small they could not be seen, but powerful enough to help support the weight of the land above them. The pressure from that trapped water pushed outward, balancing the pressure pressing downward from soil, buildings, canals, and crops. Then the pumps reached them. As shallow groundwater disappeared, wells drilled deeper into older and older reserves. They began pulling water from clay that had held it for centuries, sometimes for millennia. At first, nothing dramatic seemed to happen. The pumps worked. The fields stayed green. The harvests continued. But deep underground, the balance was breaking. When water leaves clay, the empty spaces inside it begin to close. The grains press together. The layer compresses. And unlike sand or gravel, clay does not spring back when water returns. It changes shape permanently. It compacts under the enormous weight above it, like an empty can crushed under a boot. This is why the crisis is so frightening. The Central Valley is not only losing groundwater, it is losing storage. The aquifer is not just being drained, it is being destroyed. Rain can refill a reservoir. Snowmelt can raise a lake. A wet winter can bring rivers back to life. But it cannot reopen microscopic clay pores that have already collapsed. Once that underground space is gone, it is gone for human timescales. That means every foot of sinking land represents more than surface damage. It represents lost capacity. It means future storms will have less room to soak underground. Future droughts will have less stored water to draw from. Future farms will depend on a system that has physically shrunk. This is the point of no return scientists fear most. The land can keep sinking after the water disappears, because the clay is still compressing. The disaster does not end when the pumps stop. By then, the valley may already be folding into the empty shape left beneath it. When the ground sinks evenly, damage can hide for years. But the Central Valley is not sinking evenly. It twists, tilts, and tears itself apart in slow motion. One field drops inches while land nearby falls feet. That difference breaks systems designed for level ground and predictable gravity over distance. Roads buckle first. Asphalt rises into ridges, then splits into jagged seams. Trucks carrying crops bounce across warped pavement that was never built for a moving foundation. Bridges lose clearance. Drainage ditches point the wrong way. A highway that once connected farms to markets begins acting like a barrier instead. Then the buried systems fail. Sewer lines depend on gentle slopes to move waste away from homes. When the land tilts, gravity no longer cooperates. Pipes crack, joints pull apart. Wastewater backs up where it should flow out. Repairs become temporary because crews fix the pipe, not the sinking earth. Water pipelines face the same punishment. A buried pipe can survive pressure, but not endless bending. As the surface drops unevenly, steel twists, concrete fractures, valves jam, and leaks spread underground before anyone sees them. Every break wastes water in a region already running out of water to spare today. Foundations begin to tell the story inside buildings. Doors no longer close. Walls split at corners. Floors lean just enough for residents to notice something wrong. A house may still stand, but its value weakens with every crack. Insurance forms cannot describe the feeling of watching home become unstable beneath. For farmers, the collapse reaches into daily work. Irrigation lines lose alignment. Pumps strain against changing elevations. Laser-leveled fields stop draining evenly. Water gathers in low pockets while higher rows dry out. Equipment sinks into warped ground. The field still looks productive, but every harvest becomes harder to protect fully. This is why subsidence is not only a geological report. The valley is becoming an infrastructure emergency. Every inch downward changes how water, waste, traffic, and power move across the landscape. The disaster does not arrive in one dramatic moment. It arrives through systems that quietly stop working as designed. The Central Valley was engineered around a simple belief. Water would flow downhill. Canals were carved with careful slopes. Gates were placed with precision. Pumps, reservoirs, and delivery systems were connected into a machine that depended on gravity doing the same job every day. Subsidence has broken that assumption. Nowhere is that clearer than along the Friant-Kern Canal, one of the valley's most important water lifelines. It was built to move water south from the Sierra Nevada foothills, carrying it across farms, towns, and dry stretches that could not survive without it. For decades, the canal worked because the land beneath it stayed where engineers expected. Then the ground began to fall. Not everywhere at once, not evenly. Certain sections sank faster than others, creating a sag in the canal's path. Water that once moved smoothly began to slow. Capacity dropped. In some places, the slope became so distorted that the canal could no longer carry what it was designed to carry. A system built for flow became a system fighting its own foundation. The image is almost impossible to believe. A canal, built to use gravity, now forced into sections where water would need to push against the shape of the land itself. Engineers can line concrete, raise banks, and rebuild segments, but they cannot command sinking ground to stop moving. For farmers, the consequences are immediate. Less canal capacity means less delivered water when crops need it most. Orchards do not pause during repairs. Dairy operations do not wait for engineering studies. Fields planted around promised deliveries can fail when the water arrives late, reduced, or not at all. And the damage spreads beyond agriculture. Communities depend on the same networks. Wildlife refuges depend on managed flows. Fire crews, towns, and industries all rely on water infrastructure that was designed for a stable valley. But the valley is no longer stable. Every lowered canal section is a warning. The disaster underground has reached the surface and entered the machinery of daily life. California can spend billions repairing concrete, but the deeper question remains untouched. How do you rebuild a water system on land that keeps sinking beneath the water itself? Corcoran, California, is where the Central Valley's sinking ground stops being an abstract measurement and becomes a daily threat. This city of roughly 22,000 people sits in one of the fastest dropping zones in the region. From the street, it can still look ordinary. There are schools, shops, churches, homes, and fields stretching outward under the wide valley sky. But the city has been sinking for years. The change is not dramatic like a landslide. It is quieter than that, and more unsettling. A benchmark placed in the ground records a lower elevation. A levee that once seemed high enough needs to be raised. A bridge that once cleared floodwater safely begins sitting too close to the channel. Bit by bit, the city is pulled downward while the dangers around it remain in place. That is the nightmare of Corcoran. It is becoming a bowl. To protect residents from flooding, officials spent millions raising the levees around the city. On paper, that sounds like a solution. In reality, it is a race against gravity. The ground beneath the levees is sinking too. The protective wall must keep rising because the city inside it keeps falling. For residents, this creates a strange and constant anxiety. The disaster is not always visible from the front porch. There may be no siren, no flames, no wall of water. But everyone understands that elevation has become survival. A few feet can decide whether a neighborhood stays dry or disappears under floodwater during the next major storm. And Corcoran is not alone. Across the valley, towns built on agriculture are confronting the same impossible question. How do you protect a community when the land beneath its protection system is losing height year after year? The tragedy is that Corcoran did not sink because residents wasted water in their homes. It sank because the region's economy depended on pumping groundwater from far below them. The cost is now rising around the city, even as the city itself continues falling. Every levee raised is also a reminder that the foundation problem remains unsolved beneath them. The most personal part of the Central Valley crisis begins inside a kitchen, when someone turns a faucet and nothing comes out. No warning siren, no official announcement, just a dry pipe, a sputter of air, maybe sand, and then silence. For thousands of households, that moment has already arrived. Many rural families depend on domestic wells that reach a few hundred feet underground. For decades, those wells were enough. They supplied drinking water, showers, laundry, cooking, gardens, and livestock. They made a house possible in places far from city water systems. A well was not just infrastructure, it was security. But nearby, the agricultural machine kept drilling deeper. Large operations can afford wells that plunge thousands of feet into the earth. They can install powerful pumps, run them for long hours, and chase water into older layers that small households cannot reach. When those pumps pull hard enough, groundwater levels drop across wide areas. Geologists call this a cone of depression, but for families living above it, the meaning is simpler. Their water disappears. First, pressure weakens, then taps cough, filters clog with sediment, toilets stop flushing correctly, washing machines sit useless, parents buy bottled water for children, elderly residents wait for deliveries. Homes that once represented generations of savings suddenly become almost impossible to sell. This is where the crisis becomes unequal. The people losing household water are often not the ones pumping the most. Small communities, farm workers, and low-income families bear the consequences of an economy built around deep extraction. They live beside fields that remain green while their own sinks run dry. Some households receive temporary tanks. Some drill deeper if they can afford it. Others cannot. A new well can cost tens of thousands of dollars, and there is no guarantee that water will remain there for long. The ground is falling. The aquifer is shrinking. The race keeps moving downward. A valley can survive a dry year. It can survive a bad harvest. But when homes lose water, while industrial pumps continue humming nearby, something deeper has broken than geology. The land is sinking, but so is trust in the system that allowed it. California's answer to this crisis is supposed to arrive by 2040. That is the deadline built into the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, the law designed to bring aquifer use back into balance before the valley loses more of itself. On paper, it sounds responsible. Local agencies must track pumping. groundwater plans must be written. Farmers must eventually use no more water than nature can replace. The goal is sustainability, a word that offers comfort because it suggests there is still time to steer away from collapse. But underground, physics is not waiting for paperwork. The clay layers do not pause because a management plan has been filed. The aquifer does not stop shrinking because a committee has agreed on a future target. Every dry season, every emergency pumping decision, every new deep well pushes pressure lower and compacts more of the buried structure that once held the valley up. This is the danger of the 2040 illusion. A deadline can make a crisis feel controlled, even while the damage accelerates. It creates the sense that there is a runway, that California has years to adjust, negotiate, litigate, and soften the blow. But the ground is already responding to choices made decades ago. Some farmers know this better than anyone. They are trapped between survival now and collapse later. If they pump less, orchards may die, loans may fail, workers may lose jobs, and family farms may disappear. If they pump more, the aquifer sinks deeper into irreversible damage. Either choice carries pain. That is why the Central Valley's water crisis is not simply a matter of law. It is a collision between economics, climate, agriculture, and geology. Regulations can restrict pumping, but they cannot refill collapsed clay. Funding can repair canals, but it cannot rebuild lost underground storage. Politics can delay hard decisions, but it cannot change the weight pressing down beneath the fields. By 2040, California hopes to balance what goes in and what comes out. But if too much storage disappears before then, balance may arrive only after the container has been crushed. The valley may meet the deadline and still lose the ground beneath it. Few projects expose California's contradiction like high-speed rail. It was designed for speed, precision, and stability, but parts of its route cross a valley that is still sinking. Tracks must stay aligned, bridges must remain level, foundations must hold under enormous speed and weight. Yet beneath them, the ground is compressing because so much water has already been pumped away. Engineers can adjust, reinforce, monitor, and redesign. But every fix admits the same truth. California is not only building across distance, it is building across uncertainty. And the danger goes beyond the rail line. The Central Valley is one of America's food engines. If canals fail, water deliveries shrink, fields become harder to irrigate, and farms retire land. The impact will reach grocery stores across the country. Prices rise, choices narrow, supply chains strain. For years, California feared loud disasters, earthquakes, fires, floods. But this one came quietly, through deeper wells, constant pumping, and decisions that made sense season by season, until the ground itself began to fail. The valley still blooms. Its farms still feed millions. But beneath that productivity is a warning written in sinking land. Water was not just being used, it was holding the valley up,